You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hi everyone, welcome to Potluck Food Talks. Today we have a special guest, Julián Otero. He's creative chef at Mugaritz, one of the most creative restaurants ever, and also distributor of some of the most bizarre content on the internet, the most bizarre food content. He posts stories called Gastro Cringe. How are you doing, Julián?
Hey, how are you? Well, I don't think it's bizarre. I think it's necessary to give this kind of side to the gastronomy. I think if we always see the good part of gastronomy, they are very good people showing part the recipes, the techniques, the teams and environments, but also there is a bad gastronomy. Let's say that it's bad, but maybe it's not bad. That show the worst part of being a human.
Yeah, like I've seen these stories. I mean, any crazy thing you can imagine, like people using, I don't know, like skin as part of food, or making shoes with ice cream, or the most cringe things you could imagine around food, around his stories on Instagram. How often do you post that? Like every day?
Every 2 weeks, more or less, I post a compilatory of these things that normally is divided into theme using food as strange things, or using food without seeing the importance of food. That is the problem of this. You say some examples, no, like using ice cream for making a boot, or let's do this kind of tiramisu bathroom. No, let's put a tiramisu in a bathtub, start eating all this food. And for me, it's very linked with scarcity and with hunger, also with capitalism. The other part is the thing that there's a lot of new food critics, let's say, that go to restaurants and say their opinions without any knowledge. For me, it's a way also to expose that people and to fight against that kind of opinions. Because if we stay quiet, if we don't say anything, they normally think they are right.
You mean like influencers, TikTokers that go to restaurants and give uninformed opinions?
Yeah, For me, it's I think it's a plague. It's a thing that start like not so long ago, like 5 years ago. Before that, we don't have any clue what the people used to do. For me, it's a trend. It's going to be a trend during maybe other 5 years, until maybe social media is less important for our lives, or a new social media appears, maybe with EA or something like that. I think there's a lot of people living with gastronomy, but not be participating in that gastronomy. And that's a problem.
I wanted to go through your journey as a chef. Now, like I said, Julián is working as creative chef in one of the most creative restaurants ever. How and when did you start cooking? Like, was it something you always wanted to do, or like many of us, was it like you wanted to do something else and you ended up cooking?
I was born in Lugo, in Galicia. It's a small city here in Spain. I have the need of going away from Lugo when studying to Madrid to be a librarian. Because I like books, I like read. I started working in Madrid in some, not restaurants, but some bars. I realized that I like gastronomy and the way that people work in gastronomy. So I made a small degree in Madrid, Formación Profesional, it's called here in Spain. That is 2 years to be a line cook, and start to work in Madrid. But I think I always wanted to be a chef. I always cook with my grandmas. I always cook with my mom. I was very curious about food when I was a child. And then when I was working in Madrid, I started to take all my money. I saved my money to go to El Bulli.
What year was this, more or less?
2010, more or less. And then El Bulli closed. They got me the grant, but they closed. So I have a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but I have money. I want to be more than a chef, and I thought that El Bulli was the path, but a new culinary school, a new university appears. That was Basque Culinary Center, and I applied. They deny me. They don't want me to go at the beginning, and then in September they call me. Okay, there's one spot left. If you want to come, and I went here to San Sebastian, and I start to see food in another way because I never be involved with science. I never be involved with gastronomic culture in here in San Sebastian, and I start to try to go everywhere, try to go to the best places that I need to go to learn. So finally, at the end, being able to be to a Bulli Foundation and to be the first one to work, the first one people stagiaire or people information working in El Bulli Foundation. So it was very nice for me.
Do you think your background as a librarian had anything to do with that?
No, because I never finished library science. I think I'm very worse at that. Maybe they changed a little bit of my mind because I'm more organized. I never go to the class when I was studying library science. I prefer to go to other places. But the good thing, the good part, when I was in the Bulli Foundation, that I've been able to share the space and the work with people who made the Bulli. In that moment, there were people of Disfrutar. It was Oriol, Eduard Mateu working in El Bulli. It was Marcos Pinera, Eugenie Diego, all the big names that you know because you used to see the documentaries or you read the books and the people actually working with you. And the most important thing for me and the most shocking thing was that Ferran was there all the time. Was the first to come and the last to leave.
Wow, what a crazy privilege.
Yes.
Yeah, you were probably like one of the very last ones to work with that whole team together with Ferran and Oriol and Eduard and Mateo at the same time in the same room.
I think yes. Maybe there are some people more that worked at the time, but I was very lucky to be there. I learned a lot, and I realized why they were the first restaurant in the world so many times, because they work very hard, they work very focused, and they don't let anything without investigate.
Well, you were working on El Bullipedia back then, or on a different project?
Yeah.
The Sapiens project, or what was the project back then?
Yeah, when I was there was no Sapiens. We realized we started working with Sapiens during that time. We create the term Sapiens in that time. In that moment, we call it Bullipedia, but we don't have the Sapiens. We don't know if the books are going to be, I don't know how many books they have right now, 20 books or something like that. A lot of books, a lot of knowledge, a lot of different things that they made in that time. They work with Telefonica for making different kind of user experience to learn. So it was a very nice because you also, every week, there come a lot of people that maybe you know that like Tony Segarra, the branding producer, or people that work in a very high level, collaborating with that team. So it was very nourishing for myself.
How would you describe Oriol Castro? That's something, because I've heard so many people that have worked with him and they put him on such a high level of person and also of creative force. Do you have any like anecdote that you can share or anything about him that you could say?
Maybe not anecdote, but I think Oriol is one of the kindest person I ever know in the industry. It was very nice with all the people. They know the names of everyone. He's very humble. In that moment, you don't know, start to open more or less the restaurant in Cadaqués, but Disfrutar was a thing that maybe was in their minds, but it's not right now that are the top of the gastronomy. In that moment, they were creating all these things that they have now. But for me, it's amazing because nowadays when we see each other, is very, very warm. It's people that is very, very kind. Him and Eduard and Mateu, they are this kind of people, and they deserve everything that they have right now.
Yeah, just yesterday we were talking about that going today to Disfrutar or Enigma is the nearest that you can be to go to El Bulli nowadays, right? Like the next generation after El Bulli. And then you got back to the Basque Culinary Center. Was this like an academic internship or?
Was an academic internship, and then I worked with them in the summer, and then start working with Mugaritz and with them in a common project that was in that kind of the first, let's say, project that involves Wikipedia or Bulli Foundation, Mugaritz, Basque Culinary Center to put this kind of way of thinking in the academy scholarship. So I was very young. I have a very pressure of a lot of people because then in 2-3 months I realized that I have to make 6 hours of class in Basque Culinary Center in the first year. I was in that time I think I have 24-25 years. For me, it was like, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to that, but I'm going to do it. I was very very stressed because the ball was in the middle, and sometimes nobody want to take decisions of the things, and you have to take a decision for them. For sure, you have to take a decision for 3 big corporations, and you are a small monkey in that moment. It was like a completely crazy moment of my life. And then with this project, I started to work with Mugaritz.
Did you do the whole stagiaire process? You work direct to the line or direct to the creative lab? How was that entering Mugaritz?
I entered, recommended by Ferran, in the R&B team. I only stayed 2-3 months as a internship in Mugaritz, and then I have my first contract. For me, it was of course was complicated because in the process of Mugaritz, you cannot do normally this. You have to be an internship, then you have to be a line cook, then you have to be a chef de partie, then you have to be head chef, and then maybe you are lucky, you have to go to R&D.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking, for example, I was thinking of Diego Prado, for example.
Yeah.
He has all the conditions to be in the R&D team of Mugaritz, and he has been maybe one of the person that has been the most in Mugaritz in 1 year. I think there was a year where he went like 11 times in 1 year. But he told me, yeah, you don't get hired in Mugaritz. That just doesn't happen, like not like that.
Yeah.
That was like a big exception, right?
Yes, a big exception and also a big pressure to make things right. I know in that moment that I'm very lucky. It's for me a dream. I remember when I have my first books of Mugaritz in 2004, and then 10 years later, I start to work at Mugaritz.
This is my favorite one. This is my favorite one, and I have it all signed with the team back then. Yeah, like.
And then finally possibly made some of the books of Mugaritz. So nice for me. Well, it's like when you are a fan of something, a fan of a rock band, and then you are in a concert, and the singer say you, okay, you are going to play the bass with us today, and you say what? And then you come, and then you go in the tour with them, and 12 years later, you see, okay, I'm the guy in the rock band who can say to one in the audience, come with us. No, and it's nice the process.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I have to say I'm a bit jealous because I was a stagiaire in Mugaritz and I dreamt about being in the creative position. I was just for a short stage back then in 2005, like really early. Yeah, and how has been the experience of working in Mugaritz with people like Ramon, like Dani Laza, like Javi, traveling around the world? What can you share about that?
Well, it was very nourishing. You say you work with a lot of people, but sometimes without. For me, right now that I'm maybe my last steps in Mugaritz, for me the most important thing is not also the people who are there at the team that are very important for sure, and I get to know people very important like Leire or Dani. But for me, the most important part are all the people who comes every year, like as a stagiaire, as an internship, as 1 year only, because they are the people who move actually the machine.
Yeah, they also bring the fresh blood, right? Like the energy.
Yes, and for me, it's the most important thing because people are in the history of Mugaritz, maybe you can count 10. in that 27 years. But people who make as an internship in Mugaritz, there's thousands. And the people who put later the business or restaurants or other things with the trademark of Mugaritz, with it kind, there are people who be only 1 year. So it's amazing force that of Mugaritz, but it's not about the person, it's about the environment. And I really believe that the environment is the thing that made Ufig.
I completely agree. For me, there is magic in that. I remember when I first came back to the Basque Country 10 years later, after being in Mugaritz, just the smell of the forest triggered something in my head, like brought me back, to being there in the morning, walking into the restaurant. It was like a very, very magical experience. It was the first place that I went after leaving home, living with my parents. I was 19 years old. I went directly to Mugaritz. Like Marcel picked me up in the train station. That was like a crazy time. Also, something very interesting, and this is something we have talked a lot about in the show, the approach of Mugaritz. That is, I think it has something that not other restaurant in the world has. That is this thing that flavor is not the most important thing. For us, something important is that it's interesting, that it's challenging, that is stimulating to your senses or to your intellect. Same as a work of art could be. There's this super interesting documentary that you appear in, what's the name? Without Bread or Dessert, that was published last year, where you go through the whole creative process of a year. What can you say about that approach that is so unique?
I think that is necessary, this kind of approach. I think that nowadays, there are more restaurants that they do the same. We are not uniques, but in the moment that Mugaritz tried to make this kind of approach to gastronomy, for sure was completely unique. The other big restaurant in that moment was a Bulli or Noma, and they do more comfort food. Even they use a lot of techniques and a lot of new approaches, was more comfort food. Mugaritz had this kind of sense of trying to challenge people, as you said, but was very good during a lot of time. But nowadays, I think West is also try to please because it's a business as well. It's a 27 years business that you cannot think West without that. We have to get money. And I think also Mugaritz changed a lot during these 27 years, because when you were in Mugaritz, you were in the kind of herbal, wild kind of inspiration. 10 years ago, they start all this kind of wild, crazy ferment. And nowadays, I don't know exactly what is the point, because I think we have to see with the 5-6 years in advance, let's say, to talk about the history of Mugaritz. But it changes a lot. And I think it's one of the values of Mugaritz, that they change. They can change. That's why there is no close. That was still relevant, and the people talk about us like a big important place.
There is a new topic for every season, right? Like I remember in the documentary, the topic was the things that you can't see, like everything that is invisible but is present. And what was it this year?
Well, I don't remember. I usually don't think about these kind of topics. I think they're important because it's seasonal, but I always forget that during the season.
Something important is the dynamic of the teams that you work with when you create the dishes. Like you have like this force, as you mentioned, of people that come from all over the world, these young chefs that want to spend a season there and nourish themselves technically and intellectually. So that there are like team builds for specific dishes. There's like every dish has a team, and how does it work? And a leader also, and also like a mentor. Is it something like that, more or less?
In R&D, we are the leaders of this kind of processes, the recipes and the techniques, but the people who are going to be with us, that are the ones who stay during a year with us and then stay like this kind of 4 or 5 months more to make this kind of creative season. They are the people who actually develops the recipes. There are people who has to set recipes and change things and try to figure out what is kind of strange topics that we sometimes we put in. Let's say this is an hypothetical. we are going to make a plate about luxury, but we don't tell people what is luxury or which ingredients is going to be the plate. So they have to figure out, and that's why it's important. They have to be that Mugaritz has to have young blood every year, because you can manage ideas, but your ideas are limited in time. I have a theory. For me, it's very important. We are very good when we are as a creative chefs when we are young, because we have a pack of knowledge and our memories when we are childs. We have like 20 years of knowledge in the setup of our minds. But when you start to work, you kind of use a lot of these kind of ideas. And if you don't nourish yourself a lot, reading, traveling, seeing other restaurants, you cannot go as fast as you need to survive as a creative chef. So it's very important that young chefs with all these fresh ideas come and to make a work that is shared and that is collaborative. Because it's the same thing that I said before, that it's not about the names, it's about the environment and how we can create a thing together.
No, absolutely. I think that the magic about being in Mugaritz, I remember when I was there, all of the station chefs, the chef de parties, now they're famous chefs on their own worldwide, and many of the stagiaires also. So I think I was in a very, very special year. Probably every year is special, but that was my year. I also wanted to ask something I want to know, like in a restaurant like Mugaritz, when do you know that a dish is ready for service? Like how many tryouts, which is the indicator? Because if delicious is not the indicator, is it intuitive? Is there like an approach? How do you do that?
Well, the thing is that this is never ready. But in Mugaritz and in a lot of places, but because when you create the dish, when you serve the dish, people that are going to eat that dish are going to change and are going to finish the meaning of the dish. And sometimes this kind of feedback help you to make things differently. And also, maybe you make a dish 4, 5, 6 times, but the people who are going to make it every day during few months are going to change a lot of things. So at this, when we start the season and when we finish the season, it's completely different. And for sure, if we continue the season, it's going to be different as well. Actually, you don't finish a dish; you abandon the dish. It's like I think Picasso said that about the art, that the art is never finished. You have to leave it. People has to finish it for you. For you.
Yeah, I think Duchamp said that. Yeah, that the work is finished by the receptor, by the public. And I don't know if it was Hemingway or some writer that said that a work is never finished, only published. So like you publish it, but that doesn't mean it's finished. Yeah, I guess both of those ideas come together with this one. But on the creative process, how many tests, like kitchen tests, do you make, or like a random number? Is it 10, 20, 100? Like how many?
It depends
for
on
a
this.
dish?
Maybe you have an aha moment and you create a dish in few tests because you have it very clear, your mind. And sometimes for making a new technique, maybe it's 4 years to develop it. I remember with when we start with using Penicillium aviarensis, that is the fungus that grow in some sausage like fuet or salchichon here in Spain. That takes us like 4 years to grow it safely in the way we like it. And was because it was a human mistake. They changed the proportions that we normally use it and grow so fast that you can start to use it without any harm to the people. So it depends. It depends. But for saying that, if we work with a dish during 2 months, you can work with 30, 40 tests every recipe.
Super interesting. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, and it was a pleasure having you with us.
That's it for this week's episode of Potluck Food Talks. If you like what we're doing, Make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok as Potluck Food Talks. The show airs every Monday.